Hey people, this is Mr. UV, aka Mr. Ultraviolet, and we're back with another video in Wild West Heroes. Today we're going to be covering the tier list for the support category. And just before we get started on that, I will show you this little in-game secret that I ended up finding. Developers left it out, but there is a new character coming soon. He will be a regulator or white joker, what I call him. This is what he looks like. We don't know if he's support or DPS or tank. Um, it just shows us his character model, and we can see what faction he's from, which is the regulators, and that's all. When we go in the game and we look at all the characters, it doesn't show up. He doesn't appear, but they did leave that piece of code in there. That's just a little tip that I ended up finding while I was uh, looking through the game earlier. So other than that, I'm going to get into the video on the tier list. Let's go ahead and categorize these. And we're going to be looking at the support class. All right. And we're always, as usual, we're going to be grading these characters off max stats. And we'll just go ahead and get right into it. Now, in my opinion, you might be able to switch these first two characters around, um, depending on what you value most, or situational if you're looking for more of attack, or if you're looking for more defense. You can switch them around. The two characters are the same from different ends of the spectrum, but we can get right into it. In my opinion, I would have to say the best one probably is strings. Strings. And the reason why I say that is because this character can restore your special meter or your grit by 300 to all teammates. He also increases damage reduction by 30% for 8 seconds, so that's very useful. He's going to increase the amount of time that your team is going to be able to sustain with that damage reduction increase. He's also allowing your team to use their specials or their grit more frequently. That is his special in the game, and I think that's a phenomenal special. Also, every 9 seconds, this character randomly removes 2 teammate status afflictions. That means burn, bleed. If they have it on them, it will remove it from 2 characters randomly every 9 seconds. Also, he will also increase their attack and their crit rate by 30% for 8 seconds. So that's 1 second of downtime, and then it'll kick back on. Um, the only thing I have to say about this is that I don't like that it's random. It's not like usual. Usually, when they increase attack or something like that, it's usually the highest damage dealer on the team. This one, it's only increasing. It's increasing the attack and crit of your teammate randomly. So it might not always be your damage dealers. It could be your tank. It could be your support. It could be someone like him, Strings, who doesn't even do damage on his special, and it will only count for normals. So that's one down thing. That's one con I can say for this ability. But the 30% is pretty high for a crit rate, meaning how often you can crit and the attack. And pretty much, like I said, it's 1 second of downtime, so it's constantly firing off, and it lasts the whole duration that he's actually live in the match. So that's pretty good. Alright, let's get into his last passive. The first time this hero's HP drops below 60%, all teammates will grant a shield equal to 40% of this character's HP for 10 seconds. Alright, that is a great ability. He is granting the shield for 40% of his HP rather than health like Preacher has. His shield is based off the amount of attack that he's doing it. Strings is based off the amount of HP he has, and as you can see, your HP stat is always higher than your damage stat, so he is gaining a more stronger shield, and it does last 10 seconds. But the downside, the con that comes with that is that it does require him to drop below 60% health, and he only can use it one time during the match, out the whole match. So he does and give off that shield that's way stronger than the Preacher, but the con that comes with that is that he only can use it once. All right, and another con that comes with the character is that the attack and crit buff that he does give to the team, it only affects 2 characters, and it is random. Other than that, this character is phenomenal. He will help you sustain in matches with that damage reduction that he gives, as well as he allows you to use specials. Great with characters like Sunset Stalker, who specials every time someone on the team specials, and because he's restoring the special grit meter of everyone on the team, that's allowing her to use her ability more often as well. And you know, you could come up with a lot more other combinations. I like to say maybe even with the tank that the barkeep lowers accuracy. That's another good combination to do. The more often he specials, the lower the accuracy is, and the more they miss. So there's a lot of good teams you can put them on if you want to go that attack route. Now, if you want to go the defense route, you might be able to say this next character is number two, but number two on the list, I have to say, is Preacher. In my opinion, he is the best character in the game that's not a legendary. So let's get into why he is that. Okay, his special is grit. Every time he fires it off, he is creating a shield that can absorb up to 183% of his attack, and it covers all the teammates on the team for 8 seconds. That is a phenomenal. I'm telling you, this character right here can help you if you're struggling on pretty much any piece of content in the game. This character can help you clear it because that shield will protect you from damage, and not only that, this character can also increase defense as well as provide a heal for the team. All right, back to the shield though, it is phenomenal. But here's a little tip that I will say: you might use the character and the shield. You might notice that the shield will go and cover some of the characters on your team, and some of them won't get the shield. That happens because the next incoming attack from the enemy, it'll wipe out that whole shield's, health. That's why that character didn't get the shield, because the next incoming attack that hit that character depleted the whole shield. So that attack was stronger than the 183% attack that Preacher has. Because that shield is going to have 183% of his attack. So that next incoming attack is doing more damage than that. That's why sometimes you might see he'll use the ability and everyone on the team doesn't get a shield. So that's just a little bit of head knowledge right there for you, a little tip of reason why that happens. It's not a glitch or anything like that. It's just saying that the next incoming attack is doing more damage than the shield that was applied. All right. So the next passive he has. Every 9 seconds, he's increasing the defense of the teammate with the lowest HP for 30% for 6 seconds. So he's going to increase your defense by 30%. It lasts for 6 seconds, but it's only going to increase the defense of one person, the person that has the lowest amount of HP at the time of the skill going off, and that's every 9 seconds. Also, while that skill is going on, so that duration of 6 seconds, he will also heal for 30% of his attack. He will heal whoever has the lowest amount of HP. He's giving them 30% defense and healing them for 30% of his attack every second for 6 seconds. So that is a phenomenal heal. It's not as big as Sawbones, but it is a great heal because it's 30% of his attack. If you build this character for an attack character, even though he does not do any damage with his special, he only does normal damage. But if you build him for attack assign bonus, attack gear, attack horse, things of that nature, his heal will be way bigger, and his shield that he applies to the whole team will be way stronger. So you might want to build him that kind of way right there, and he'll definitely help and support your team. All right, let's get into his last passive. Every attack that he does, that's specials. Well, his special doesn't do any attack, so it's always normals. But every normal that he does, every pew pew, has a 30% chance that he can inflict dizzy on the enemy for 3 seconds. That's how long it lasts. It lasts for 3 seconds, and it has a chance to remove most buffs. So if they have attack up, they have defense up, or increased damage reduction, or anything of that nature, he has a 30% chance that he can make them dizzy and strip off those buffs. Doesn't say how many buffs, it just says most. I wish they would change that in the game, or give us a specific number. But as of right now, we're just guessing. It says most. I don't know how many that is, but it does have a chance to at least strip those buffs off, and it has a chance to apply dizzy. Dizzy, when you're afflicted with dizzy, you cannot use specials. You can still use normals, but you won't be able to use specials. So for 3 seconds, they will not be able to use specials, and they will have the buff stripped off them. This is a 30% chance. You will notice it goes off kind of frequently during the match. In my opinion, doesn't go off when you always need it, but it can go off, and it is a phenomenal ability. When you look at his whole kit collectively, this is a phenomenal character. He's the more defensive side. The defensive side, he does increase defense. He does allow heals, and he provides a shield. He doesn't do any damage or raise any attack or anything of that nature, but he can help you sustain longer in a match and also heal your characters. All right, let's get into number 3 on the list. You probably already guessed who it was. It's Sister Mercy, in my opinion. Why is it Sister Mercy? Okay, she damages all enemy teams for 228% of her attack. If you notice, support characters have typically a lot of attack compared to even DPS. If you want to look at DPS, their base stats, it's only 5,000 more, 5,000 more points more than your damage dealers. And if you compare that to tanks, it's about 2,000 more. Excuse me, 20,000 more. So their attack stat isn't very low. It's up there. It's up there. So her doing 228% uh of her attack to the whole enemy team, this can hit very, very hard. Not only that, when she does land this attack, she removes most of the buffs. Once again, it says most. It doesn't give us a specific number. It just says most buffs. So she can wipe buffs off of the enemy team. So those attack ups, those defense ups, increase in damage reduction, anything of that nature, she can take that off instantly, and that can she takes it off of the whole team. All right, and let's get into her first passive. Whenever this target uses a special, so when a teammate, so when, excuse me, whenever a teammate uses a grit skill, inflict dizzy on all enemies for 4 seconds. That's crazy. So anytime any person on your team uses a special, the whole enemy team is going to end up dizzy. That is very good compared to, the preacher. He's only hitting that specific person. He's only inflicting that specific person randomly with that 30% chance. He's only putting dizzy on him. It's only hitting one person. This is guaranteed every time someone on your team uses a special or a grit, whatever way you want to call it. Their whole team is going to be hit with dizzy. Once again, it doesn't last that long. It's only 4 seconds. But if you start thinking about combos, you put it on the team with someone like Strings, who can allow the team to use more specials by granting special meter, or having someone like Sunset Stalker, who always fires off a special every time someone on the team specials. You start thinking about things like that, you can see why Sister Mercy can definitely be a threat. Not only that, this is passive. This is a passive ability. This is going to go off continuously, endless, infinite amount throughout the whole game, as long as the character is alive, and throughout the whole duration of the match. This is going to fire off. It's not gated behind every 9 seconds or a downtime or anything like that. It's every time a person uses a special or grit skill on your team. She's inflicting dizzy, not on one person, but the whole team. Just understand that's almost borderline broken. On top of, if you notice, she's out of those top 3, the only one who is actually doing damage from the support. And she's not just hitting one person, she's hitting the whole team, and for a decent amount. So yes, this is a very good character. The only reason why I don't have her higher is, let's get into the rest of her kit. Right? Alright, while in battle, decrease all enemies' grits generation, which means she's going to decrease the amount of special meter they will gain. She's decreasing that by 15%. So the team that, if you have on your team, the enemy team, they're not going to be able to use their specials as often, because she's decreasing it by 15%. Also, as her health drops, she's going to gain defense. It caps out at 50%. So I don't know if that's when she drops 50%, it's going to hit 50%. It doesn't give us a specific number on what intervals that she gains the defense, but it says that once she hits 50% defense increase, it caps out there. It can't go no higher than 50%. So keep that in mind. That's very good. Even though she doesn't gain damage reduction, she still gains the defense. Now the cons, and the reason why she's not as high as the other two, is because yes, she does damage. Well, that's really not the role of support, but she does damage. That's good damage, and she can strip off buffs. That's a good one. But she doesn't really have any way to she can sustain herself with the increase of defense, but she doesn't allow the team to sustain. She's not giving them attack up or uh defense up, defense reduction, or heals, or anything of that nature. She does it for herself, but it requires her to take damage for her to get that increase in defense. So she has to take damage before she can increase her defense. You would probably want it to be in reverse. You probably want her to gain the defense, and then, obviously she's going to take damage, but it'll be less. But she has to take damage in order to gain a buff. So that's a little con in my opinion. It could be worse. It is still good, and she's more of a debuffer character. If you're familiar with games, that terminology, basically she either strips buffs or put negative effects on people because she lowers their amount of special they can gain throughout the whole match on the enemy team. She also can take the buffs off of them, and she's also implying dizzy. So she's a debuff character. She really doesn't add anything to your team. She takes stuff away from the enemy team. So if you think attack is more important, maybe she could be higher than Preacher. She can maybe fit number 2, and Preacher will be number 3. But in my opinion, I'd rather have a support character that helps benefit the team to last longer rather than them being on a more offensive. All right, so that's in my opinion. Let's get into number 4. Let's get into number 4. Those are the top characters. As you can see, those two are the two legendaries. They did make top 3, so that's good. As I said, Preacher is the best character in my opinion. That's not a legendary, so he too is also in top 3. All right, so number 4, in my opinion, I would have to say is Darling Dove. Darling Dove. All right. Let's get into her kit. She damages the back line, so she's hitting support characters. The same characters we're ranking right now. She's hitting all of them. She damaged them for 294% of her attack. So, like I said, these guys they have a decent attack stat, and that's a big number. 294% of her attack. So you build her for attack, she can do massive damage. All right. And she also inflicts the targets with butterfly marks for 10 seconds. Now, how these butterfly marks work is that once they have it applied to them, they take additional damage. The additional damage is 30% of her attack, and they can stack, but they will cap out at 300%. So that means they only can have a maximum of 10 butterflies on them at a time. And they do have a duration, so that it can be possible to happen, but not likely because it is a 10-second. But when we get into the rest of her kit, you'll see how that can be a likely thing to happen. All right. So first passive, when this hero crits, so when she lands a crit, she will heal up to 60% of her attack. She will heal the lowest teammate on the team. So whoever has the lowest amount of health, if she crits, they will get a heal for 60% of her attack. Now, 60% of her attack isn't that big, and the duration is 3 seconds. It's over 3 seconds, so it's not 60% every second for the duration of 3 seconds. It's just 60% through 1, 2, 3. You get that whole 60. That's not a real big heal, but you got to keep in mind a character that's built for crit. So if you build her for crits, have, like I said, stats on horses, a sign bonus, a gear, stuff like that, to have a crit rate bonus on it, or if you even have other characters on the team that increases crit rate, she can pretty much crit 9 times out of 10, and that'll start becoming broken. So that's why the heal uh, uh, percentage is pretty low. It's at 60%. So they had to keep it somewhat balanced. And I've seen her do decent heals, especially if you do the stagecoach as criminal escort mode. If you came up against her in like the 300s, I think it's in the 300s. Yeah, she could do massive heals. She could pretty much take out a team by herself, at least in that mode. All right, so let's get into our last passive. All right. Every normal attack also inflicts 2 random enemies with the butterfly mark for 5 seconds. So every normal attack has a chance to put butterflies on 2 random enemies. So it's random, and it's for half the time. So it's, the specials for 10 seconds, the normal attacks is for 5. And it also can it does additional damage to 15% rather than the 30%. So it's all half, but it also can stack up to the maximum, the same number, 300%. This is how you can hit that 300% because every normal attack, if she lives long enough, she's going to apply a lot of normal attacks. So every normal attack can, apply those butterflies. On top of every time she uses her special, she can apply those butterflies. Remember, so that can, calculate to about 45% extra damage. That's just base. It can stack up to way more because it can go up to 300%. So she can be a damage dealer, a pseudo damage dealer if built correctly. But you have to pick your poison, or you can pretty much go for a balance route if you want to go for crit or attack. So you got to pick which route you want to go. Now, the cons that come with this character is, yes, the heal. She does do heal. She can heal just like Preacher. The lowest health teammate you have in your team. But like I said, the heal isn't that big. It's only 60% of her attack. So you're gonna have to build her for, massive attack to get a massive heal all at one time. So that is a con that you have with her. Her heals is gated around her one critting, so that's one con, and then two, it's not a massive heal. So keep that in mind. Even though she is a healer, if you look at this, it says sustained damage. That's really kind of her. It says she's a support, but it says sustained damage. So she's more of a damage dealer the way that she operates. She does dot damage like burning because it's that those butterflies. Think of them like burning or bleeding. That's how they work. But through those, she can, heal with crits. So keep that in mind. She can be a healer, but she's also a damage dealer. All right, so she's a pseudo healer and damage dealer. That's who we got at number 4. All right, let's get into number 5. All right, and number 5, I have to say, is the real healer in the game, Mr. Sawbones. I call him Doc or the medic. This guy does phenomenal. If you stack 2 of this guy on the team, I'm telling you, your sustain will be through the roof. All right, his special is grit. He restores HP to all teammates equal to 46% of his attack every second for 3 seconds. So that's 46% every second for the duration of 3 seconds. So if you calculate that, that's actually 138% of his attack. So throughout the whole duration of 3 seconds, he'll heal for 138% of his attack. Once again, you build this guy for attack, even though he doesn't do any damage. But if you build him for attack, his heals will calculate based off that attack, and it will heal way more than it normally would if you just build them for HP or defense or anything of that nature. So you want to build these guys for maybe HP to last a little longer, but mainly build them for attack because he does apply self heal. Excuse me. And if he does fall into one of those characters on the team with the lowest amount of HP, he'll heal himself. Now I'm getting ahead of myself. That is what his passive is. All right. As this hero's HP drops lower, they gain damage reduction up to a maximum of 48%. So once again, that's a massive amount of damage reduction. It's almost 50%. That he'll cut the damage. So whatever damage that he's going to receive, he's cutting it off bucks early, right then and there, almost 50% before it even goes through his defense to calculate how much damage he's going to take. So he's there to sustain. He's going to be able to take a lot of damage. He kind of lasts longer than a tank, even though he's not there to take damage. He's actually there to heal damage. But he can hang with most of the best tanks in the game. So, he's going to constantly heal himself. But it does max out at 48%. So remember, he'll be able to keep on healing. So if he drops to let's say 20%, and then he gains damage reduction, as long as it isn't already at that max of 48%, he can heal all the way back to 100% and then drop his health some more and gain more damage reduction, as long as he hasn't hit that 48% cap. So keep that in mind. All right. So here's just a little thing I add right here. His passives that he gained, he's gaining attack because his health is based off his attack, HP, and he's also gaining 12% damage reduction. So yeah, this guy's gonna have phenomenal amount of damage reduction just based off of these two right here. He's already at over 50% damage reduction. So keep that in mind. Every 7 seconds, restore HP equal to 150% of his attack to teammate with the lowest HP. Now, I was getting ahead of myself talking about this. This is pretty much self-heal. If he is one of the ones with the lowest amount of HP, he's going to gain that 150% heal of his attack. On top of when he uses his special, he's healing for 46% to everyone, which actually calculates out to 138% to everyone when you do calculate the whole 3 seconds. The 46 every second for 3 seconds. All right, so it's 46 times 3, 138. All right, so this guy, he'll definitely keep your team alive. He'll definitely keep himself alive. If you have two of him on the team at the same time, I'm telling you, they're very hard to kill. Those two will be the last characters on the team. Everyone else might die, but they will last to the pretty much to the end to time run out, depending on how hard the content is. I don't know how you would build a team to do that, but if you have, visions on ways to do that, get it in, put them two of them on the team, and watch them work, or maybe him and Preacher. The cons, like I said, the character doesn't do any damage. All his attacks and passives are just heals, heals, heals. He's pretty much the doctor on the team and the real only healer or doctor in the game. So that is a con. If you put him on the team, just know that he's not going to do anything but heal. He's not going to cause any damage. Only damage that he will do is normal attacks, and that's it. And he doesn't really have any passes that go with his normal attacks. Every skill that he has is just healing. So keep that in mind. His healing is phenomenal, but he doesn't do any damage. So he's more of a defensive type. So pretty much you're gonna get that whole. If you're paying attention, you're gonna get that whole trend watching this videos. Either if you're going for a more of a attacker, offensive support character, or if you want a more of a defensive character. Your list might be different than mine, depending on what you value more, or if you're going in for a situational build. All right, so let's get into number 6. Now, this one is kind of hard, and once again, just like I just said, I gave a disclaimer. It can be different for you. 6 can be number 7, but in my opinion, I'm probably gonna go with number 7. I have to say it's Wild Side. Gotta say it's Wild Side. Um, let's get into why. She damages the back line. Once again, these are the same characters that were ranking all support characters. She's hitting them, and she's hitting them for 215% of her attack. But this is the part that makes her useful. And she locks them down for 5 seconds. So if you got someone like Preacher, any of these characters that we're listing right now, like like we just talked about Sawbones having a healer. He's not doing any damage. So if he cannot heal, that character is just on the team for nothing, just taking up space. So she's on the team going up against Sawbones, and she gets her grid off. She's locking him down for 5 seconds. He can't use any specials or any normals. Remember, lockdown means you can't do anything. You can't use normals nor specials. You can't do anything. You're just sitting there taking damage. So if he can't use specials or apply heals, he's useless. All right. Same with Preacher. Um, he doesn't do any damage. He applies the shield. She targets everyone that we're covering in this list. So this can be a very useful character. If you're going up against preachers or teams that have preachers or doctors or sawbones on the team, or maybe even strings or Sister Mercy, you want to get past those guys or lock them down or stop them, have a counter to them, throw a wild side on the team. All right, let's get into her passive. All right, every normal attack has a 50% chance to decrease the target's defense by 25% for 5 seconds. All right, she's the only character in the game that's in the support class at the moment of me recording this video who can lower defense. All right, you have characters that can increase defense, but she's the only character in the support. There's only 2 characters in the game that can lower defense. That's Committee and her Wildside. They're the only 2 characters in the game that can lower defense. That 25% is massive. It's very important to get this ability off, and it's going to kick off at a 50% rate. So that is the con for her. Though it is based off each normal, and those are the pew pews. Those are going to fire off all throughout the match, non-stop. But still, there is a flip of a coin chance, 50% chance that it might land the defense down or it might not. Hers is 25%. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good. All right. That is pretty good. Especially if you have hard hitting damage dealers. If she hits that character with this defense down, boom, you're going to be able to melt their health right after that. All right. And another con that I would say before we move into the last skill is that yes, it is 50%, but also you have to remember that the normal attacks first have to work through the first person in line that goes from front to back. So the first person you will encounter is the tank's front line. All normals will go through the tank first. So if she hits with her normal attack, and let's say it lands out of that 50% chance, it lands. It puts the defense down. It's only going to put the defense down on the tank because he's taking all the normal attacks. Once the tank drops, then it will randomly hit the any character on midline, so your damage dealers. And if one of them get hit and it's a 50% chance that it lands, then they will have the defense down applied on them for 5 seconds. So remember, it has to go through front, mid before it can hit the back. If they only have mid and back characters, it will hit mid first and then back. That's how it works in this game. All right. So those are the two cons, that it is a 50% chance um that it can land or it won't, and that it has to work, the defense down will have to work its way back from tank before it can get to anybody else. All right, now every 15 seconds this character will lock an enemy down, whoever has the highest attack, for 9 seconds. Now that 9 seconds is pretty good. That 9 seconds of locking them down is good right there, considering there's only like 90 seconds in a match. So that's real good right there. That's real good. Every 15 seconds, this is kicking off. So that's, as long as this character is alive, it's an infinite amount of time she can lock a character down with the highest attack stat on the enemy team. So that is phenomenal. That's pretty much why I have her on here. She's a great control character. She can lock down not only the person that has the most damage, will typically be your midline or your damage dealers. She can also lock down your back line, which is always going to be your support characters. So she can lock down two lines of the enemy team, that's mid and back line. And she can lock them down for 5 and also 9 seconds. So that is phenomenal. And she applies the defense down. Even though this skill is good, it is where most of her cons come from. But if she gets that 50% chance she can land it, it's phenomenal, especially if you want to hurry up and get through the tank. It doesn't seem that bad that it's landing on the tank first. So if you want to chop through the tank real early, you would definitely be able to do it with this character on the team, while at the same time controlling the support character in the back and locking down the damage dealer. So she could pretty much control the whole enemy team by herself. So that's why this character is as high as she is. And let's get into number 7. All right, number 7 I have on the list, gotta say, is this guy right here, Daddy. I said Danny. Daddy. Dandy. Excuse the accent or whatever. But we're gonna get into his kid as well. Now, just gonna start seeing a trend with how these characters are being ranked as well. All right. So this guy, I told you he helped me through a lot of content. He damages two enemies randomly. So it could be front, mid, or back. He's going to damage two enemies randomly for 110% of his attack. Enemies that's hit by this attack cannot dodge nor attack, and that lasts for 5 seconds. So if I'm not mistaken, this used to say Dizzy, or I just implied Dizzy because the icon in the game has the same icon or whatever. The little Dizzy swirl around their head when they're affected with this. That's how you know who's being affected by this effect right here. All right, it's because they're gonna have the Dizzy swinging around their head, the stars or whatever that you normally see in cartoons. Now, the con that comes with this attack is, one, you can see he doesn't do a lot of damage. 110%. That's the lowest stat that we've seen thus far at this moment of me listing these characters, as well as he's only hitting two people and it's random. So it could be your tank, it could be your support, it could be your damage dealers. It is random. And the character, and not only that, even though this is a good ability, don't get me wrong, even though he applies that dizzy, it's pretty much like lockdown because they won't be able to attack nor dodge. It's pretty much like lockdown, but it doesn't say it's lockdown, and it has the dizzy icon when they're affected by it or impacted by it. All right, but it's worded that they have to be hit, so I don't know if it's gated that behind that the hit has to actually land. So if he uses it on an enemy and it missed, they don't get the dizzy effect or the lockdown effect, nor do they take the damage. I'm not sure. The game, it moves so fast, it's kind of hard to really test all of these things. But when this does work, that dizzy can save your life. I'm telling you, that stun or whatever they want to call it, where they can't attack nor can dodge for 5 seconds, that can save your life. All you have to do is just be lucky enough for it to land on the person that you want to target. Other than that, he doesn't do any damage. But he's a control character. He's not supposed to do damage. All right. Next ability. Every 10 seconds, restore 400% special meter, or not percent, but just says 400 grit to teammate with the highest attack. So every 10 seconds, he's going to do what strings does. He's going to increase your special meter for the person on your team with the highest amount of damage. So whoever on your team does the most damage, every 10 seconds, they're going to get more special meter, allowing them to do more specials. And this is a great skill. You're going to notice why this character is as high as he is. All right. His last passive. The first time this hero's health drops below 70%, grant two teammates with the highest attack 20% attack. Also increase their crit rate by 20% for 15 seconds. Now, if you haven't figured it out by now, this character pretty much has all the abilities from the support characters and one. It's like a watered down version of all the abilities. That's why he's as high as he is. Because when you look at his abilities just from me reading it, you might be like, oh, they don't seem that strong. Yes, but for this one character to have all these abilities all rolled into one, he can be a more of a situational character. He can help you in situations that you definitely need maybe one or two of these skills to fire off. Him being able to apply Dizzy to an enemy on the team for 5 seconds. Maybe you don't have to bring Preacher. He's able to do the same thing the Preacher's able to do in Sister Mercy. Even though it is random, he only can do it to two people. All right. And then, so those are the pros, those are the cons. You got to pick your poison with it. Also, he's able to restore special meter, just like Strings was able to do. But he's only going to be able to do it for the character on your team who does the most damage. One character, not the whole team, just one character. But he can do it an infinite many of times. All right, so that's the con. He only can use it for one character, the one that does the most damage. But he does increase the person's special meter who has the most attack on your team, and it is an infinite amount of times you can do it every 10 seconds. All right, and then once again, his last skill is that the first time that he drops under 70% health, which isn't too low, he doesn't have to drop to half or under half. 70% isn't too bad. The first time that he drops under 70%, he will grant attack and crit up 20% for 15 seconds. 15 seconds is pretty long. And he's also giving you 20% attack and crit. So he's giving you an attack buff, but he has to lose health to do it. But at the same time, he doesn't have to lose that much health for it to kick off. So this character is a pretty much balanced character. He's like a jack of all trades for the support class. If he pretty much had like a healing in here, he will be way higher. Probably can make maybe top 5. But because he doesn't, and he's like a mid tier type character, I don't think that rank 7 is too bad. So this guy, he's pretty good, especially if you can get him on a team where you can fit all these skills into work, or maybe get the faction bonus. So smooth talkers or a hybrid team. All right. So let's get into number 8 on the list. And number 8, in my opinion, is this girl right here, School. I thought her name was School Charm, but a School Mom. All right. Now, she damages the backline. Once again, the same characters that we are listening. Listen, she damages backline enemies for 159% of her attack, as well as she decreases the target's special meter grit by 400. So whatever the last character we just covered, Danny, uh she could take down the same amount that he's increasing or giving. Same thing with Strings, actually more than with Strings, because he was doing 300, she's decreasing it by 400. So every time she uses special, she's lowering their special meter and also applying damage, even though it's to the back line. So she's targeting uh healers, preachers. Put her on there, that's a hard counter to them. They're not going to be able to put out their shields, they're not going to be able to heal. All right. Her first passive, every 9 seconds, she increases the attack of the teammate with the highest attack by 40%. That is phenomenal. 40% increase is massive. It lasts for 8 seconds. That's pretty good. And this kicks off every 9 seconds. So there's 1 second of downtime right in between it. 1 second cooldown. That's not bad at all. That is actually really, really good. Really good. Um, let's get into our last passive. Whenever this hero, really, this could have made her way higher. But when I start calculating her next to all the other characters. I had her drop her a little bit lower because you really can't get the use out of her unless she's on specific teams. So let's go into it. Whenever this hero falls in battle, inflict burning on all enemies, damaging for 20% of her attack every second until the battle ends. So if she dies, like if you put a think about this, if you put a level 1, you shouldn't do this because to higher the level or whatever. So it really doesn't matter. But here's an example. You put a level 1 character of her on the team, right? If she dies instantly throughout the whole match from that second, they're going to be taking 20% of her attack damage throughout the whole match. Until the match is over, they're going to be burned. They're going to be on fire. The whole team. So that is a phenomenal skill. Even if you put a built version of her up there, like if you build her for attack, right? If you build her for attack, because she do damage, she does apply damage to the back line. It's not that much, 159%, but she does apply that burning effect, which is 20% of her attack. So the more damage she does, the more damage that the burn will inflict. But not only that, if you put her on a team with someone like Sunset Stalker, who needs a status affliction for her to gain the crit and attack increase. Or if you put it on the team, which is the same faction as her, is Pathfinder. If this character falls, you never have to worry about Pathfinder or Chlamydity Caitlyn getting their status of bonus that the attack bonus or crit bonus or the healing bonus. It's because they're always going to have the affliction on them. You don't have to worry about them landing their attacks or getting their specials off or even bringing extra characters on the team that can put burn, bleed, so they can get that increase on attack. If she falls, it's going to be going off 100% of the time and it's going to last the whole duration of the match, non-stop. So this is a great character if you want to build a whole team around the Clovers, especially if you have Sunset, I'm not Sunset Soccer, but Pathfinder on the team. That's a great team you could put together. And the cons with this character, and the reason why she is so low, is because yes, she does damage. It's not that much damage. She does hit the back line. It's kind of funny. All the support characters affect the support characters, other than Sister Mercy, which is why she's so high. But she doesn't do that much damage. Now she does increase special, but she only does that by her using a special. So she only can decrease the support special by using her special. So you got to keep that in mind. Now this skill right here, her first skill, is why she's so high that she is because that every 9 seconds she's increasing the teammate with the highest damage by 40%. That is phenomenal. If any of the other characters on the list had this skill, they can maybe qualify for the best character support character in the game. This is phenomenal. 40% is a very high increase. All right, but she's once again she doesn't add any type of increase in defense, increase in damage reduction, increase in health. She doesn't heal herself. She doesn't have any way for her to live. This character, I guess, is designed to die so she can get this skill off her last passive, but she's more situational. This skill will only benefit you. That burning the whole duration of the game, you really only can capitalize on that if you build her for an attack build or if you build her for a team that can actually the complement with status afflictions or that can benefit off of like Pathfinder. If anyone has an affliction on them, she will cash out all of that damage that they're supposed to take throughout the duration of whatever it is, 5 seconds, 12 seconds, 10 seconds. She'll cash that all out instantly when she uses her special. That's why she works very, very well with characters that apply status afflictions. But if you're not using a team like that, then this character is really not going to do nothing for you. That's why she's as low as she is. But her first passive that increased 40% attack is phenomenal. All right, so let's get into number 9 on the list. We're starting to close out. All right, now number 9 on the list, in my opinion, is this character right here. I probably gotta say it is Wolf Warrior. Now this is where it starts getting kind of hard to rank the characters because they're really not that good at this point. Now, don't get me wrong. This guy's getting to his kit. He attacks mid-line, so he attacks the damage dealers. And he doesn't hit very hard. He's hitting for even less than Danny was, and he was hitting for 110. He's hitting This guy Wolf Warrior is hitting for 108% of his attack. Now, granted, he does hit them for an additional 20%, so that can max out at 120% of his attack. But that 20% is through a duration of 8 seconds. So keep that in mind. It's not going to hit for 120% instantly as soon as he fired off. It's only going to hit for 108% instantly. That extra 20%, it's going to have to take 8 seconds for you to get that 20% damage. All right. So he might die before that damage even goes off. Who knows? Or they might put up a shield or heal that health back. So you got to keep that in mind when you look at duration type damage. All right. Now his first passive. Whenever an enemy falls in battle. So whenever any enemy dies on the enemy team, he will increase the entire team's crit rate by 25% for 10 seconds. This can stack up to 4 times, obviously, because there's only 5 enemies per team. So every time someone on the team falls, he's going to increase the whole team crit rate by 25%. So that can hit all the way up to 100%, guaranteed that every time you fire off attack, it's going to crit. But by that time, the whole team's dead. So keep that in mind. So maybe even when it's at maybe 2 people alive, that's what, 50% on top of whatever amount of percentage of crit rate you have. That can pretty much guarantee you a crit almost on every attack. So that can be useful, but granted, remember, he's only getting this increase if a opponent dies. An enemy team member has to fall for him to get this. So that's the con. Yes, that increase on the crit rate is 25%, 10 seconds. That is good. But they have to first, someone on the team, enemy team, has to die before he gets that buff or gives that buff to the team. So remember that. All right. Now, also, this character, when the battle starts, as long as you have this character on the team, obviously, when the battle first starts, he's going to increase everybody on the team's attack by 20% for 20 seconds. That is massive. He's going to increase everybody on your team attack by 20% for 20 seconds. Remember, there's 90 seconds in a match. So, for 20 seconds of that, he's going to increase everybody on the team's attack by 20%. All you have to do is just have him on the team. It could be level 1 or whatever. Of course, the amount that he'll increase it will be lower because these are max stats. But as long as you have this character on the team, you don't have to have gear on them or any of that. He's increasing their attack by 20%. Remember, that is very good because it's not based off of his attack, it's based off their attack. So if you have someone like a damage dealer who's built for damage, right? It's going to be 20% of what their attack is, not his. So you don't have to worry about building him too big, is what I'm saying. That's why I gave the level 1 analogy or example, because it doesn't matter what his stats is looking like. It matters about the rest of your team. Pretty much all you got to do is have this character on the team. He's just going to do phenomenal for your team. But once again, even though that is a great ability, like the characters on the list at this point, they're going to have probably one good ability and just the rest not so useful. Yes, that is his best ability. Him being there, he's increasing the attack of your team by 20%. But his first pass of him, granted the crit base is only based upon someone on the enemy team dying. He might be the first to die or second to die or anything of that nature. What if you don't take out any targets before he falls? He's not useful. So this ability isn't too useful unless you're able to actually take enemies out. So you already have to be winning the match for him to be useful. So keep that in mind. And then remember, he doesn't do too much damage, even though he shouldn't because he's a support. But once again, he's not adding any defense. He's not adding any heals. He's not clearing buffs. He's not really, adding anything that could dizzy. He's not adding anything to keep your team in the match. Granted, he does increase attack and crit. But like I said, someone has to die for him to do that. And it's once per match. Once that 20 seconds is over, that's it. He's not going to be able to increase attack anymore. Also, he's not doing any damage when he does fire it off. Even if you build this guy for attack, he's not going to do as much damage as you think, even though he attacks the damage dealers. All right. So now let's get into the next one, number 9 on the list. Oh, excuse me, number 10 on the list. I have to say it is probably Lark. Lark. Now, this character, when you look at her kid, I thought when I first started playing the game, I thought this character was probably one of the top tier support characters. I really did. And we can get into it. But I was wrong. Alright, so her special, she's going to, reduce all enemies attack by 25% for 15 seconds. So that's a long time. 15 seconds is a pretty decent amount of time to have lower attack. And she's lowering the attack by 25%. So that's a lot. That's a big debuff right there. And that's her special. Now, here's where she applies her damage. Every 9 seconds, she's going to damage whoever has the highest special on the enemy team. So whoever's about the special, she's going to damage them for 288% of her attack. So that sounds good on paper, but you're really going to have to build her for damage, and she really doesn't. All right, because it's every 9 seconds. Yes, it's pretty much guaranteed that she's going to be firing this off constantly. But it's only hitting whoever has the most special. So she's hitting people who has the most special, but she's not there to do damage. So the damage that she will apply to that person with the highest grit meter is not going to be impactful, because her special is lowering their attack. So she's a debuffer. Keep that in mind. She's a debuffer. All right. Now we look at her next skill, her last passive. When her health drops below 70%, once again, that's not bad. It's not too high, not too low. She increases all teammates' defense by 50% for 20 seconds. That's phenomenal. Increase in defense by 50%. That can keep you in the game real long. So I have no problem with this skill at all, and it lasts for 20 seconds. So that is phenomenal skill. Like I said, the trend is they're going to have one good skill, and then the other ones aren't going to be too useful. Now, the difference between this is why I thought she was OP in the game, because notice most characters' skills, the way it's worded, when it says these type of skills, they have to drop below a certain percent of health. It always says only can use once. Hers does not say that. It doesn't say that she can't use this skill multiple times. But I spent probably, I don't know, about 15 minutes fighting her multiple times on the train event, and had her on the team, and also had a healer on the team to bring her back up once she dropped below 70%. And I was only able to get this to fire off one time. So even though it doesn't say only can use one time, I believe that this skill can only be used once in a match. If this skill was able to use multiple times, like it pretty much infers by the wording, this will make her probably top maybe 3, 4 on this list. But because she doesn't, I gotta put her where she's at right now. All right, and which is number 10. So that is the problem with this skill. The con that comes with this, she only can fire off one time, even though it's very phenomenal. This is probably her best skill. This is her best skill. Getting that 50% defense for your whole team is very, very good. It can help your team last way longer than they normally would. And it lasts for 20 seconds. That's a long time. 20 seconds is a long time in this game. Most matches don't go to the end of the whole 90 seconds. Unless you're going up against like 2, 3 tanks on a team, or 2 healers, or a lot of support and not a lot of damage dealers. She's just sustained type characters. Yes, the match can be drugged out. Neither side will probably win by kills, but time will run out. But this firing off one time, it's gimmicky. It's gimmicky. And then, all right, this right here, every 9 seconds she does do damage, but the character doesn't do damage. She can do 288% of her attack. You're gonna have to build her attack very high for this to even be a useful skill. But it can be useful, like I said, if you build her very strong. I would never do this. I would never tell anyone to do it, because she's not a good character and she's not there to do damage. But if you did build her for damage, like this is probably the only 5-star you have and you're early in the game, like day one type of things, if you build her for damage with the gear and you listen to this video and you understand how the game works, yes, she will probably do the most damage on your team, because this is firing off every 9 seconds. You can probably fire this off 3, 4 times before you get a special. And because it's 288% of her attack, this will do more damage than a lot of people's specials in the game at low ranks, low levels, early, beginner stage, very, very like first day. And so it's It's not a good skill, but it can be situational very early in the game. And then once again, yes, she can be a debuffer, lowering the attack by 25%. That is very good. That's a big number for 15 seconds. But like I said, she really has no type of way to keep herself in the game other than that defense, and she only can fire it off one time. Even though it does last 20 seconds, it pretty much, you can't rely on her to be the only support character on the team is what I'm saying. Compared to everyone else that we list prior to her, you might be able to just run them and that's it. But you can't do that with Lark. You can't do that with Lark. Alright, so let's get into the last character if you can count. This is the last one, Madame. And she could be borderline broken if one thing in her kit was to change. All right, so we'll get to that point. She damages back line. Once again, this is support. Same people we're listing in this tier list video at this moment. She damages them for 282% of her attack and decreases the target's attack by 30% for 8 seconds. Once again, this sounds very good. She's hitting them for 282% of her attack. That's very good. But granted, remember these characters don't do, they're not there to do damage. But that percentage is pretty high. Also, she's there nerfing or debuffing that person, which that support unit that she hits, she'll nerf their attack by 30%. It sounds good. But granted, this is probably only a useful skill if you're going against someone like Sister Mercy. Because out of all these characters that we listed, she's the only one that actually does real good damage. Like, that really hits hard. Maybe Darling Dove. Sister Mercy and Darling Dove are the only two people that this character can be a hard counter to. Because she's lowering the attack of whoever she targets, right? But who she targets is the support. So why are you lowering the attack of people who don't do damage? That's why this can be misleading. That's why she's last on the list, in my opinion, right? So that's really not a good ability right there. All right, so her first pass at the beginning of each battle, she'll form a bond with a random front line. So, with a random tank, if you got one, it will always be that one. Obviously, teammate on the team, increasing both heroes' attack by 9% and defense by 9%. All right, so their base stat, she's going to increase their base attack and defense stat by 9%. That's her in the tank. Um, to me, that's really not even useful. That's not good. For you to bring a whole character just to make the tank better, and she's not there to really apply defense or, I mean, apply damage. It really, it's pretty much a useless skill if you ask me. Especially when you start thinking about the tanks that you have. Pretty much, if you have an underwhelming tank on your team, and you do have Madam right here on your team, and these are like the only characters you got, yeah, throw on there. She'll make your tank better. She'll even increase her own stats. But there are so many good tanks. The top 4 tanks, you check my video I did on the tanks. The top 4 tanks should not need her to be on the team to do their job. Maybe the ones under that, but still, think about it. You're bringing a whole nother character onto your team just so you can make another character better. That should never happen. You should be increasing levels, star ranks, gear, horses, things of that nature to make them better. Not bringing a whole nother character just to increase their stats by 9%. And 9% in really isn't that much. So let's get into that. She gains damage reduction, of course, because she gotta have something to keep her alive. She's getting the defense, so they gave her damage reduction as well. And this is the ability that could have probably made her top tier. Every 15 seconds, she charms a random enemy and causes them to attack their own teammate with normal attacks for 8 seconds. If they took one word out, if they took out that normal attacks and allowed the enemy team to even hit their teammates with specials, grid abilities, this could have made her top 10. This could have made her top 10 character in the game. Because it's like mind control. If you going up, you can use this to help you beat content that's harder than you can actually handle. Because if you're going up against a team that's way stronger than you, and those 15 seconds happen, and she mind controls that damage dealer who's way stronger than you, they'll end up hitting their own teammate and maybe even wiping that character off. You see what I'm saying? So you don't have to be able to defeat the enemy. All you have to do is keep her alive long enough for to her to make the enemy kill each other. But because this is only normal attacks, she's the last character on this list, in my opinion. She's just useless. Yes, that would have been a great ability if it allowed her to attack with specials, but it's normal attack. Normal attacks do thousands of damage. That's nothing. That's nothing. When I'm hitting for like 600, 800,000 damage on a grit, a special. So a couple thousand here and there from normal attacks isn't doing anything. Nothing. And it's random. It's not even saying, oh, damage dealers or weakest enemy target on your team or something like that. It's just random. It can be a person with full health can be getting hit with 500, 600 damage. You know what I'm saying? That's nothing. So that's a useless ability. And then obviously at the beginning of the match, her trying to make the tank on your team better and increasing her stats when she doesn't do damage. Of course, the defense is good, but what is she there for? I guess they built her to sustain so she can get off the mind control ability more often. But like I said, it's only normal, so that's useless, and that makes this useless as well. And because she's lowering the attack of a support unit who's there not to do damage, that makes this ability right here useless as well, and that's why she's the last on the list. So sorry for the time if it seems too long for you. You know, you can watch it in bits or whatever have you, whatever works. Skim through it, but this is my list, my tier list. I've done all three, front, mid, and this is back. I've covered all of them. Check them out here and there and mix the teams together and maybe come up with an ultimate team that you have with the characters on your list. And maybe you can start planning for the future teams now that you understand how all their kits may work. And maybe you can come up with, super teams that you could put together for either the present or the future. And just for the future, I'm gonna be covering the new characters as well. So every time they drop a new character, I'm gonna be covering them. I'm not gonna go back and update the lists until there's probably about an extra 5 characters for each category. Once they add maybe 5 more tanks, 5 more midline, 5 more support, then I might do the list over, or if they, rework some of the characters. But until then, have a good day, stay blessed.